Hi, Og. Did you sleep well? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I was actually basing it on how Nibbles actually views everyone. She surprisingly remembers everyone's names, like as if she actually kept tabs on like who everyone is. She was always the type of person that actually meets everyone else. Like when there's like a new friend, she always gets the chance to get to know them. That's how Nibbles are. And the villager you actually see in the background is Parita. And the villager on the but Bella's in a good mood. Kind of wonder like what she's happy about. I just recently gave her I just recently gave her like one of my songs that she recommended me. It happened off stream while it was while after recording. I will like tackle them at some point, but sorry, I just got caught off guard by something. Surprisingly, Justin has been working hard on setting up his Twitch since he is confident that he ended up like building an empire that fans can actually interact for those who doesn't want to like pay subscriptions. I'm doing good. I'm just mainly reflecting on what I just dealt with today. Mainly because I didn't exactly expect two of Echo's villagers to be in the hotel, and I'm still practicing on not talking about her a lot. Since I apparently frustrate Justin a lot when she just straight up told him just to move on and stuff. I sometimes don't get how he is sometimes when he gets frustrated. Yeah. Though I will admit, I think Bella's just like doing some exercise. Oh, you're also curious on like which area I'm in, right? Well, back in New Leaf, I planted a tree, and that tree was also the same time Burping was created. So this area is the reimagined town tree. And since Burbank is 11 years old at this point, since we just celebrated the 11th anniversary of this town's existence, I this area marks the actual evolution of the tree, and it's always going to be near the town hall. And the heart of Burbank too. So, was there like any questions you were curious about? All I know Neville's favorite fruit is all of them. But if I had to guess based on what she usually prefers, is no, I think she just likes all the fruits. She's always been like a fruity girl. So like no, so when you like ask her what her overall favorite fruit, oh, do you want the whole history or the one or just the history in Burbank? I am giving you the okay. I guess I'll share the Burbank part because okay, alright. Most of the time, I was trying. I was just casually just main trying to rebuild Burbank as I keep as after I got distracted helping Echo with their island. But after around January 2026, I noticed something from Justin that made me feel a bit concerned. So around the first month, in the first couple of chapters, I suddenly see a sudden decrease on how Justin's morality of life is overall. He used to actually view everything as like equal. As you know, like he experienced what love is for the first time, and he himself like was always positive when it comes with the future. Unfortunately, in book one, unfortunately, that's not the case for Justin in the situation. He kept, for some reason, kept talking about Echo, and that ended up making me curious if he wanted to chase her or not. And throughout like each episode, while I was trying to maintain my villagers, it was also like the few first times that Fauna was like the main focus of that of that month, because like she was one of the villagers that Echo has like in palette. So I gave her the same treatment as I always do with my villagers. At the same time, it was also like the situation where Kaizo was trying to like try to have access to Burbank. And I think this was also the first time I was actually being challenged of how reliable I am. February was extremely hard for Justin to actually process through because, of course, this is the first year without a romantic partner, and so he doesn't view Valentine's Day as he used to do. And the first thing he just instantly assumes is her and her current date, and that ended up like messing with his head. And I ended up like having each. Hmm, yeah, it was like another. No, yeah, all I remember from that year was that Justin was struggling with himself around that month, and there was like a lot of uncomfortable conversation we both had that I ended up hearing Justin, and that's when I kind of noticed there was like a certain pattern that Justin actually has when he's trying to move on from Echo. So surprisingly, it's the fir- it's actually the first stage of like letting go. In terms of around that day, I was more focused on like trying to help Justin recover himself. Because like I can tell like he was being like consumed by pure negativity itself. Like I saw it was like something that Kaizo like implemented in his head just because of two couples that doesn't exactly know each other well. Based on my speculation on how Justin describes Echo. March was something that caught me off guard, honestly. Um, I think it was just a normal day on around March. All I remember was I was wondering where Jasabi was throughout the entire month, since the last thing I remember from him saying is that he was he was trying to like trying to have poker night. He got invited to poker night in the inventory, and he asked me if I could borrow some money just so he can help Justin get all his financial savings. I knew it was a bad idea, and suddenly from there I could not hear from him ever since. And around the time I didn't, then around April, I think it was the first time I actually witnessed where Jaden was this entire time. It's the, and Jaden is the actual Avatar variant Echo made for him. He's now in like a spirit form trapped in Kaizo, and we couldn't exactly do anything about it. And unfortunately can't remember much about that season aside from I was still trying to help Justin try to vent out his emotions and try to like understand on why he can't let Echo go. Which also at the same time was also like where Kaizo started, and which is also the same time Kaizo actually has some suspicious information about himself. Basically, this is actually the first time he actually started revealing himself, just to show that he is been much a bigger threat than Echo realized. And this is around the time that he is still new. There's not much information about him. May was actually the 11th anniversary, and this was actually the most stressful month that I have to deal with because I when I was thinking about like how exactly I can separate myself from Echo, so I decided to remove my vanilla build, which is my Animal Crossing avatar, and actually contain it into an actual realm, which was the origins of the Animal Crossing Deluxe. This was actually the first time I actually had to separate my core identities if I want to like take down Kaizo himself. Unfortunately, I did not realize he managed to get into Pal without even trying. And it ended up corrupting one of the villagers, and it took me 2 months to realize who it was. And then what I ended up like having to then when I actually then most of the time I was mainly curious on what just infused me most of the time every time he plays Animal Crossing. And I got that chance while I was playing Animal Crossing Deluxe. So surprisingly, I ended up like saving a bunch of all the villagers like from Deluxe before that world got weirdly depleted. So I have like some of the villagers' memory cores and of course the some of the some of their like connections, memories, and what they remember that Avatar variant as. Surprisingly, surprisingly Purita managed to get into that save file. So it was like a weird coincidence that she has been like following me everywhere. Then June, which was actually last month, I was actually made the conclusion that Echo is intentionally trying to ignore him. She's not going to listen to us every time, and I kept suggesting him just to let her go finally, as she ended up like proving me right that she's not loyal as I kept hearing about, and and there was like nothing she could do. I feel bad for her more than how I feel bad for Justin because he was at the point where he can't accept himself because he's been sitting in that willow tree for who knows how long. And of course, July was the theme of our fight. So and based based on the situation at hand, it was just the final countdown to like an echo memory core echo, which is sadly what this countdown is for. Hopefully you get a better understanding on what book one was. No problem. It's a book that will make anyone extremely uncomfortable. It honestly wasn't easy. Though I am kind of curious about something since this is the second time that we're meeting each other. How exactly did you meet Justin? Because he's usually the type that doesn't really talk much about his personal life. Hmm, I see. Based on what I remember Justin's stress was at the time, he has like a big way of thinking about like everyone in that particular role-playing server. And all I remember for him like saying is how can I exactly like make others like enjoy DCU without having to confront everyone's thought process. It was also like towards character while he actually has the experience through that role-playing tab. And I will admit, the role-playing tab concept was based on how he experienced role-playing through a role-playing server Echo Nightwing invited him to, and you want to like bring that same experience to DCU. So you could kind of like connect the dots, like how Justin came up with these ideas. That is, yeah, that is true. He always put his heart and soul into these characters. Though I never get the question on why he was attached to the original characters more than his Avatar variants. I never really understood that. Because I know he used to actually act out as different versions of themselves. Maybe that's how he actually came up with different characters. Because he was battling himself between what's original and what's alternate universe. So he was definitely stressed out about that for a long, very, very long time. A very huge possibility too. And if I puzzle it together, it has to do with how everyone else view that kind of mindset. Because back then it was foreign for everyone, but nowadays it's natural. And based on how some of the characters actually interacted with the situation Justin dealt with, I think the only character that was highly affected by this is Riley herself. Everyone else was trying to run away from like what Justin was dealing with, but Riley was having none of that, none of what Justin's feeling, and she's still in her room, like refusing to communicate with everyone. The only time that I heard from her was when we just mentioned about Echo, surprisingly. And no, the characters in Dan Century Universe it doesn't exist in Eternia. It's a multiverse kind of thing. So they're completely separate from like what this story is. And before you ask, Yes, I am also in charge of maintaining the Eternia, Pixie, and Amphoria, which is the term Pandora's box, which I think Echo remembers Justin for the majority of her getting to know him. So I'm kind of like in charge of three multiverses. Actually, that was actually the purpose behind Riley's creation. While Justin was preparing the first season of Dance Central Neon, or Project Eve, he wanted to create a character that is related to the internet as a whole. The one for the weirdos, one that is extremely foreign to the average eye. And the animation that actually popped up was Ghost by Mystery Skulls. At first glance, he originally made it as like a fan concept of what's it like if V Vivi and Lewis had a kid. And then it eventually evolved into Justin's overall perspective of the whole entire relationship. And that's when Riley was created. I knew Justin treated Riley as her number one favorite OC out of all the characters he created. Because it was like a father daughter dynamic between the two. And every time I see these two like role play together as they interact with everyone else, she will always be herself. Surprisingly, her personality is what Justin sees in the real Echo Nightwing, which as you can see, Frida. Frida. Fun fact: Frida used to actually live in Burbank years ago. Uh, but due to actually you, but what I didn't know at the time is she would ended up in Pallet, and she also has the same birthday as Echo Nightwing. So you can see like how like each connection is like which. Anyways, back to Riley's creation. Throughout her character progression, it was always a positive experience every single time. And Riley's main priority is just to be herself. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, I'm sure I know Justin made his characters to have at least everyone's favorite, but Riley was the most favorite one. I remembered her having a lot more art in her debut in Art Fight, and I realized she became a popular character without even trying. And Riley doesn't really care about the spotlight. She was not about that life. She just wants to be on her own zone, and that's it. She's always thankful for it, but it's she always prefers to be like she always prefers to be like in a community that is for the underdogs. That's how what Riley is for. She's always for the underdogs. Surprisingly, just a speculation is Chloe was the one that everyone loved. You know, now that I actually think about it, half of what Justin focused on was that role-playing tab and the server itself. I remember him venting to her about the dramas he dealt with and how much it was affecting his mentality. Either way, it's something that got me curious if the weight was too much for him. Because I can definitely tell he is not giving up on that tab. And I have seen him actively working hard on trying to revive it with the updated rules and some of the criticism that others actually has. One thing about how the characters was created is actually based on how Justin sees people in real life too. So all the characters that was extremely lovable is based on how Justin interacts with different people. Surprisingly, it's actually another strength he has. Each people that he met, he translated into his characters. So if there's actually a character that feels slightly off, or there's something you might not know, there's a possible chance there is someone in real life that actually acts this way. The only exception is Kaizo. And Kaizo is supposed to be the opposite of what your true self is. That one makes him more dangerous. You never know what your negative counterpart is. Sorry if I'm trying to change the topic. I know that I'm on alert duty to see if Kaizo is around because like he's suspiciously being quiet again. It's not the first time he tried this. He tried to like take insight of what exactly I'm thinking about. I guess the only thing that I'm really curious about, since you have seen how Justin is like in that role playing tab, what was it like when he has to face like a whole community that doesn't know like how the whole structure is, and he tries his best to explain everything, like how everything works, while learning his mistakes and what works and what's not. Because I can tell some of the actions he did also translate to how his personal work is too. He learned it from the best. That is something that I would do every single time. I give every villager, every character, a place to a place to shine. It is surprisingly a core personality of what Justin is. He wants to give everyone a chance. I kind of see why Justin trusts you. Kind of remind me of like how I was as a kid. He always like connects with people if it's related to himself. And he personally sees that in everyone. Even if they believe that they're not the same, there's always something that matches what his personality traits are. And if there's someone that doesn't link with it, then it's most likely he didn't really like got along with it based on like, how they act. Now that I actually think about it, I think this was was probably something that I'm pretty sure Echo also saw as well. Like he is always eager to give everyone a chance with voice of reason, even if it's like extremely concerning. Like I did hear recently of what happened on these. I did recently hear what happened. I saw Justin like being a bit irritated while he was trying to record like one try to record this episode or edit this episode. Based on what I remembered, he was dealing with a misunderstanding or trying to like conclude something that almost got out of hand. And based on how he felt, he looks like he was done with the drama in general. I don't know. It's something familiar that I've noticed. Though I will admit it is more tamer than how he actually talks about Echo. Which I will admit, you were lucky that you did not witness what Justin had to say, because there was like a lot of backlash that even I didn't realize I had in me. I don't know, it's pretty interesting that he set aside his emotions just to make sure everyone else is okay. Yeah, I actually did notice that when we first met. You were someone that actually learned to be patient. And that's actually something that Justin always wanted for people. Because he learned the hard way. To get to know a person, you just have to trust them, no matter how long it would take. Ow. I did not realize I got bitten by a mosquito. So yeah, I was gonna like sit back down. It's also like a good way to show that you're mature enough. The majority of people that I've noticed can process their emotions that easily, especially when they're being conflicted about something. I guess the good thing about what about the around the how around the environment Justin grew up in, he instantly recognizes patterns, even if he doesn't realize it himself. He taught himself to rely on his gut feelings, and if something feels bit bit off or too good to be true, then most likely what his doubts are, and so it kind of like correlates what his brain and what which I represent his heart actually feel about the situation. Most of the time, I always feel like I'm right about something, and I sometimes like have the slogan, "If you prove me wrong, then I'll shut up about it." Which actually was also his biggest challenge within like an echoing guardian compared to like how Paragon Reflection is. Because right now he's try to understand himself without Echo, since for years he already abandoned himself. And if I think about it correctly, he was someone that already lost his identity years ago thanks to like trauma and stuff. And I think what Echo didn't realize is she actually built a new identity for Justin that even he didn't even know what he was at the time. I will admit this, it was the best thing that happened to him in his entire life, and I personally feel like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Because I know he relies on me all the time, and that's been like this since 2015, actually, when I was created. And I try my very hardest to support Justin as the best way I can. Surprisingly, this is actually the part where he actually recognizes himself. So I'm part of I'm also not only I represent um was it Cherry or Simona? I don't Justin sometimes refuses to tell me about that type of connection. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. But I don't want to share it because I know that'll get Justin upset. Because I was actually thinking the same thing too, but he tried to. Yeah, Cherry. I can tell that she really loves Draco, and I wanted to be official, but Justin wanted to respect Draco's wishes and just be single. But over time, it ended up having him feel a bit. I don't know what's the word for it. It's like the same feeling Justin was dealing with, and when Justin reached out to like the actual creator of Cheery, she doesn't want to like come back to DCU as the server. And even though I know it's been years since they haven't joined DCU, they're actually doing great actually. So and I don't think I might hear Cherry ever. I don't think I might hear Cherry ever again. So yeah, I can tell Justin was a bit strict with some of the rules, and he's trying to like optimize on what's acceptable and what's not. And when it and if I remember correctly, I was actually there when he was making like a hard decision if he was being too hard on the role players on some of the AU world restrictions that he has to go through. And it also like affected like how he views some of Echo's characters as well. Like, some of these are yeah, some of the actions Justin did affected his mindset within Eternia and stuff. Because I guess I'll explain like what Eternia is outside of Burbank. So not only it was also the first time Justin was playing New Horizons in Echo and Guardian, it was also the official start and the official creation of Eternia as a realm. And this was very personal, and no one knew about this aside from me and all the villagers like in Burbank. And some of the closest allies Justin actually created within his Avengers and in Heroes. So this is something personal from him. And no, he did not tell Echo about this. This is actually something new. Since he's been working hard on trying to make his AU his personal world for like years after no guidance. So yeah. Now that I actually think about it, I think some of these side stories is all connected to how Justin felt throughout the years. It does sound interesting. The more you really think about it, the more it all makes sense now. Because based on what I research on in Echo and Guard, the events of Echo and Guardian, Justin was mainly love struck. And for the longest time, he was curious on why he doesn't feel any negativity in his life. Of course, my first assumption is he already found the love of his life, he actually found a place called home, everything should be fine. But of course, there was like there was like some that was he only was focused on the first half of the story, then the second half was something that is very concerning. And that concerning was actually related to his past, actually. Hmm. What's even more suspicious, why exactly was I distracted the entire time? Because I could have caught this instantly. Since the next episode is a sucker focus episode, I guess I could like look into the files on what he was thinking about at the time. Love Strike is like a form of love. It love struck is a form of love blindness. It's like an obsession thing. Actually, based on what Nibbles claimed, she did tell me that there was no villain arc. There was no villain within an Echoing Guardian, and it's been missing for years until the breakup happened. So, yeah, but there's like a whole archives of every file that Justin's memory has. It's all jumbled up because like during Justin's rap, he made sure to burn every single file that is related to Echo. So it's kind of hard to like puzzle everything together entirely. Yeah, one of Justin's personal power is pure rage itself. To the point where if he gets too stressed in an emotional level, he would go into like a berserk mode, and you will have to like stay away from him entirely. Which, thank God, Echo stayed away from him with those times. Oh, that is actually interesting. Oh wait, I think I just remembered something. That is actually true. And that is something that I have to get used to too, because I sometimes like forget people have emotions too. I'm a fictional character, so I sometimes okay, so I'm in one of the files I've read related to some of my villagers. Sucker's wife, Willow, was a huge symbolism of how much Justin loved Echo. And unfortunately, I didn't want to kick her out, but Justin himself just wanted to kick her out instantly. And since Sucker is mourning Willow, I can actually look into the files just to see why exactly Willow was important to Justin. My first guess is the name of what Echo wanted her kid to be called. And so he practiced actively having a villager named Willow, which unintentionally has some of Justin's favorite colors and Echo's favorite colors. So it was like a win-win for him. So that way I could get a better understanding on like why Justin doesn't see Willow the same way ever again. Because I know it was one of the villagers Echo doesn't wasn't exactly interested in, but they actually admired her behind the scenes. I guess the only question I actually have, since all of this is almost over, is does did Echo even try to look back into these? I'm sure I will. There was the world is actually guiding me to actually like find the answers that I'm looking for. But there was like one question that I'm always like curious about mainly. Why exactly did Jism want to run away from Echo when she's mainly scared of him? It wouldn't make sense if she saw something in Justin that Justin doesn't realize himself. I don't really know like what could it be? Is it what something that Justin said? Is it something that Justin does to it? Or is it something that Echo personally doesn't like about him? I don't know, she was always mysterious to me. And that's probably like how Justin got insane, like over time.